Hello and welcome to another deck profile. Today I'm doing my Spellbook deck, Spellbook Prophecy deck. So we'll start with the monsters, then we'll do traps, then we'll do spells. Reason for that is there's less monsters and traps. So the first monster I run is 3 copies of Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. He is a level 2 monster, water attribute, spellcaster, that when this card is normal or flip summoned, face up, add 1 Spellbook card from your deck to your hand. This deck has a lot of search power to get the combinations and the kind of cards you need for this deck really to work well, Next I run, well, all the rest of these ones I run 2 of. So 2 High Priestess of Prophecy. That is a level 7 monster. I can reveal 3 Spellbook cards from your hand, special summon this card from my hand. Once per turn you can banish 1 Spellbook card from your hand or graveyard, then target 1 card on the field and destroy it. I also run Kaiku the Ghost Destroyers. Level 4 monster with 1800 attack and 700 defense. When he inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can target 2 monsters in their graveyard, banish those targets. And your opponent can't banish cards from either player's graveyard. So that's quite good. Say, I wonder if that stops Macrocosmos. I don't actually know. I think it may do actually. Well, oh no, it wouldn't, because that's opponent can't banish. Oh well, whatever. Then my last monsters are Justice of Prophecy. During the end phase of each turn, which you activate a Spellbook card, Spellbook spell card, banish this card to add both 1 level 5 or highlight or dark spellcaster monster from your deck and 1 Spellbook spell card. So that's all my monsters. We'll go on to traps now. I don't run that many traps, to be honest. I run more traps than I do monsters. And I start off with 2 copies of Lose 1 Turn, as that's very useful against things that special summon effect monsters very quickly. So effect pendulums, so things like Drake of Performer Power because it forces defense mode, Xyz monsters. Basically the card reads continuous trap. That's only if you control no special summon monsters. And really the likelihood with this deck, it's not very likely that I'm going to have special summon monsters. If I do, I can stop this card affecting them anyway when I summon them, thanks to a spell card that is called, I want to say it's Spellbook of Wisdom, but I want to double check that. Yeah, Spellbook of Wisdom. So if an effect monster, well, this card is activated to special summon in an attack position, change it to defense mode. That's the first. Next I run 2 Storming Mirror Force in this deck. This is before the reprinted version. You can tell because it's not gold on the outside. That is when an opponent's monster declares an attack, return or face up attack position monsters your opponent controls to their hand. So not the most useful really with pendulums, but can really slow things down quite nicely. Because to be honest, this deck needs a lot of kind of stall cards and effects to, because I have quite weak monsters. I mean, my strongest monster in my standard build is 2500 attack default, even though I can power up. Next I run 2 copies of Fiendish Chain. Fiendish Chain, target 1 face effect monster on the field, cannot effects negated, cannot attack. Now I run 1 copy of each of these following traps. I run 1 Solemn Warning. When a monster would be special summoned, or when a spell card, trap card, or monster effect is activated that includes an effect that special summons a monster, pay 2000, negate the summon or activation, destroy that card. Torrential Tribute. That looks quite nice in gold if you ask me. When a monster is summoned, destroy all monsters on the field. Breakthrough Skill. Negates an effect once when activated. And During your turn, except the turn this was sent to the graveyard, banish it to negate a card effect. And one bottomless trap. Final trap card I run is bottomless trap hole. When a monster with 1/500 attack is normal or special, 1/500 or more attack is normal or special, banish it. Now we're getting onto the main bulk of the deck. Spell cards. This is where things get a bit more interesting. Well, let's get started. I run 3 copies of, the best spellbook, arguably the best spellbook. I think it's one of the, it's the second best spellbook in this deck if you ask me, because there's one that I prefer that I'll get into in a minute. But it allows me to add a spellbook card, so that can be Spellbook, Magician of Prophecy, or any spellbook spell card to my hand, except for secrets. I only activate it once per turn. Then I run, let's do it this way. No, wait, no, let's not do it that way. Then I run 3 copies of Grand Spellbook Library. What is it? No, Spellbook Library of the Crescent. Sorry. If you have no spellbook cards in your spell cards in your graveyard, reveal 3 spellbook cards with different names from your deck. Opponent randomly adds one of those to your hand. Shuffle the rest back into your deck. Only activate 1. Cannot activate any spell cards this turn except for spellbook spell cards. I mean, it seems like 3 would clog a lot, but I found that it's more useful to run 3 because then you're more likely to get it in your opening hand. But the amount of recycle this deck has, especially with the cards that I'll get into in a bit, is very likely that even if I draw one late in the game, within 1 or 2 turns I can activate it again as long as I don't fill my graveyard back up with spellbook spell cards. Next I run 2 Spellbook of the Master. Spellbook of the Master, reveal a spellbook spell card as long as I control a spellcaster. Reveal one other spellbook card in your hand. Target 1 spellbook normal spell card in your graveyard except for the Master. This comes that effect at the end of the turn, only activate 1. Basically allow me to replicate secrets to get more search. That's its primary use anyway. Now let's do this one first, because this is one of my preferred spells that I run 2 of. Spellbook of Fate. Spellbook of Fate has 3 effects. If I control a spellcaster monster, banish up to 3 spellbook cards in your graveyard. Apply the following effect depending on how many you banish. 1, return 1 set spell or trap card on the field to the hand. Okay, not the best. Number 2 is quite. If I banish 2, I can flip any monster into any face-up monster. Oh no, it's just any monster on the field to face down defense or to face-up attack. That means I can even flip over my own spellbook, Magician of Prophecy, to use its flip effect. But the most useful effect, if you ask me, is banish 3, banish 1 card your opponent controls. And you can only activate one of these per turn. It's quite a lot with all the spellbooks really. You can activate once per turn, apart from Fate, I believe. Yeah, Fate is the only one I think you can activate multiple times. Spellbook of Eternity is the next spell I run. Target 1 of your banished spellbook cards except for Eternity, add that to your hand, only activate 1 of these per turn. Then I run 2 copies of the field spell, Grand Spellbook Tower. Well, the Grand Spellbook Tower. Once per turn during a standby phase, if you have a spellcast monster on your side of the field or in the graveyard, you can place 1 spellbook spell card from the bottom of your deck, except the Grand Spellbook Tower, then draw 1 card. This card is in your possession, is destroyed by an opponent's card effect and sent to the grave. You can special summon 1 spellcaster monster from your hand or deck, whose level is less or equal to the number of spellbook cards in your graveyard. So that's very good for recycling cards in your grave. Next, Spellbook of Wisdom. I can target 1 spellcaster on the field and activate one of these effects, so they're unaffected by other spell effects or other traps. Like I was saying, that's quite useful if I activate my lose 1 turn, then I want to special summon my High Priestess. The chain link would happen that lose 1 turn would activate, and I can chain that because it's a quick play from my hand. Use it on my High Priestess, meaning it can attack and use its effect for that turn without being switched to defense mode. Now, all of these I run. The last one I run ones of. I run 1 Spellbook of Life. That is, banish 1 spellcast monster from your graveyard and reveal one of the spellbook spell card in your hand. Target one spellcast monster in your graveyard, special summon that targeted face-up attack, equip it with this card. The equipped monster's level is increased by the level of The equipped monster's level is increased by the level of monster that was banished by this card activation. You can only activate one of these per turn, but I only run one anyway. One Spellbook power. Target a spellcaster monster, face up target monster, spellcaster type monster you control, to then face against 1,000 or so until the end phase. Each time it destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can add one Spellbook spell card from your deck to your hand, only activate one of these per turn. But you can replicate it with Spellbook of the Master to replicate that as well. You know, I can increase my monster attack by 2,000 and add 2 cards to my hand instead of just one. Regeki, don't know how you pronounce it really. Activate and destroy all monsters my opponent controls. Would run more if I could, but it's limited to 1 at the moment. My Book of Moon is target one face-up monster on the field, flip it to face down. Again, you can use that for stall or for flipping over Spellbook Magician of Prophecy to get its flip effect. Last card that I run in my main deck is Salvage. I can target 2 water monsters with 1/500 or less attack in your grave, add those to your hand. It's basically a way of me recycling my Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. Then I also have a couple of random Spellbook cards that I got along with the deck, just in case I could use them. Hopefully this will come back at some point. Spellbook of Judgment. It may come back, may not, but if it does, I'm prepared. So about that, I just dropped something, so I had to go and pick that up. During the end phase of the turn this card was activated, add Spellbook spell cards from your deck to your hand. Except Spellbook of Judgment, up to the number of spell cards activated after this card's resolution. Then you can special summon from your deck one spellcaster monster whose level is less than or equal to the number of cards added to your hand by this effect. Only activate one of these per turn. This is just random cards I've got / some side deck cards. I'll separate my side deck cards. Okay. Then card that someone I know gave me, because they knew that I was using spellbooks, so this could be useful. I don't really know how I'm going to use it. That is Charioteer of Prophecy, sorry. Once per turn, discard one spellbook spell card, target one spellcast monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. So more recycling for Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. Now let's move on to my actual side deck cards. Those are just random cards. Basically I run these side deck cards so I can side deck into a world build instead of the High Priestess build if I want to. I think I'm still missing a couple of cards, but it does a decent enough job with this side deck swapping out. So monster wise, I have in my side deck anyway, I have 3 copies at the moment of World of Prophecy. Is that going to focus? There we go. This is when this card is special summoned by the effect of a spellcaster type monster or a spellbook spell card, you can target 2 spellbook spell cards in your graveyard, add those to your hand. Can special summon other monsters during the turn you activate this effect. When you add cards to your hand by this effect, you can reveal 4 spellbook spell cards with different names from your hand and destroy all other cards on the field. So it's basically a Judgment Dragon for Prophecy monsters. The main way you would special summon the world, really, is with Temperance of Prophecy? Yeah, Temperance of Prophecy. I don't really use this build, so I'm very unfamiliar with their names and effects. So I basically use the main build deck that I've shown earlier this video. So this is a level 3 monster, 1000 attack, 1000 defense. During your main phase, if you ever activated a spellbook spell card previously this turn, tribute this card, special summon 1 level 5 or higher light or dark monster. World is light. from your deck. You cannot special summon another level 5 or high monster the turn you activate this effect. That's during your main phase. And finally I run 3 copies of Spellbook Starhall. And this is a continuous spell. Each time a Spellbook spell card is activated, place 1 Spellbook counter on this card. All spellcaster monsters you control gain 1000 attack for each spell counter on this card. When this card with spell counters is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 spellcaster type monster from your deck to your hand whose level is less or equal than the number of spellbook counters on this card. So that is the end of this deck profile. Let's see how it performs.